A black farmer's donkey fell into a well. The farmer gave up on his donkey, but the donkey refused to die. A poor black farmer thought his old donkey's life was over when it fell into a deep well. But what the donkey did next shocked the whole village. Before we dive in, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you never miss stories that inspire and amaze. Elijah was a humble black farmer who lived in a quiet village surrounded by dry lands and dusty winds. Life had never been easy for him. His land was small, the crops barely enough to feed himself, and he owned just one animal, a loyal old donkey named Milo. Milo wasn't just a working animal, he was Elijah's companion, his helper, and his only real friend. From the day he rescued Milo as a small, weak foal, they had been together plowing fields, carrying water, and hauling firewood. Elijah often spoke to him like a brother, and Milo seemed to understand. One morning, Elijah noticed something strange. The gate was open, and Milo was missing. Panic hit him like a storm. He dropped his tools and rushed around the field, calling his name. Then he heard a distant, echoing cry, like a long, painful bray. Following the sound, he came to the old stone well that had been unused for years. As he looked down, his heart sank. There, trapped at the bottom, was Milo, dirty and terrified. Elijah ran to fetch rope, thinking he could pull him out. But the well was too deep, and Milo was too weak to help himself. Hours passed. The sun beat down. Neighbors came and tried to offer advice, but no one had the tools or strength to rescue the animal. Elijah's heart broke. He sat on the ground, holding his head in his hands. Then, he whispered the thought that tore his soul apart. He's too old. Maybe it's time. The well was dangerous, and needed to be closed anyway. Maybe, just maybe, this was nature's way of telling him to let go. So, with a heavy heart, Elijah made a choice. He gathered the villagers and said, "Let's cover the well. Milo's old, and it's time to move on." The people nodded, not knowing what else to do. They grabbed shovels, forming a circle around the well. Elijah turned away as the first scoop of dirt fell. At first, the sound of dirt hitting the stone walls was quiet. But then came Milo's cries, loud, heartbreaking, desperate. The old donkey screamed, brayed and kicked as the first few shovels of dirt landed on his back. His cries echoed from the bottom of the well like the sound of a soul begging not to be forgotten. Elijah felt his chest tighten. His hands trembled as he held the shovel. He couldn't bear to look down. He was trying to be strong, but inside, he felt like a murderer. The villagers looked unsure too, but kept digging, trying not to make eye contact. The donkey cried out again, louder than before. Then silence. The noise stopped. Not a single sound came from the well. Everyone froze. Elijah's heart dropped. He thought it was over. He stepped slowly toward the edge of the well, afraid of what he might see. But when he looked down, his eyes widened. Milo wasn't lying down. He wasn't buried. He was standing. More than that, he was moving. With every shovel of dirt that fell on his back, Milo was doing something incredible. He would shake it off, then take a step upward. Elijah blinked, thinking he was imagining things. But no, Milo was using the falling dirt to lift himself higher. Shake it off. Step up, Elijah whispered. The villagers leaned in, stunned. Milo had found a way to survive, not by fighting back, but by adapting. The very thing meant to bury him was now helping him rise. The crowd stood silently for a moment, in awe. Then one man smiled, another laughed in disbelief. Soon, someone shouted, "Keep shoveling." The energy changed. What began as a burial now felt like a rescue. People moved faster, their hearts lifted. Dirt kept falling, and Milo kept climbing, shaking it off and stepping up. Again and again. As the shovels kept moving, something remarkable began to happen, not just in the well, but around it. The air, once heavy with sorrow, now buzzed with energy and disbelief. What started as an act of letting go was slowly turning into a story of hope. Each clump of dirt that fell into the well wasn't a symbol of death anymore, it was a stepping stone. The villagers, still unsure what to believe, crowded closer. Children clung to their mothers' hands, eyes wide in wonder. Even the elderly, who had lived through wars, droughts, and the harshest of seasons, had never seen anything like this. A donkey, teaching humans how to survive. Elijah, overwhelmed with emotion, dropped to his knees beside the well. Tears streaked down his dusty face. "I gave up on you," he whispered, staring into the dim hole. "But you never gave up on yourself." At that moment, something powerful stirred among the people. One little girl stepped forward and shouted, "He's shaking it off." Her voice rang clear. A second later, a boy beside her added, "He's stepping up." The crowd started to murmur. Then, as if guided by some unseen rhythm, they began to chant, "Shake it off. Step up, shake it off. Step up." The chant echoed through the village, rising in volume with every scoop of dirt. The donkey could probably hear it too, and maybe, just maybe, he understood that the people above were rooting for him. The tempo of the shoveling increased. Men who were hesitant now dug faster. Women formed a line, passing shovels. Even the children joined, carrying small buckets of soil. Milo was halfway up the well now, covered in dirt, yes, but not broken. His legs trembled, but his heart hadn't given out. Every time the dirt hit his back, he would pause, shake it off, adjust his footing, and step a little higher. Slowly but surely, he was climbing his way back to life. The well itself was deep, ancient, and lined with rough stones. But each layer Milo passed became a metaphor for the trials of life, the times he had to carry heavy loads through the rain, the times Elijah had nothing to feed him, and the cold nights when they huddled for warmth in the barn. Now it all came down to this, one step at a time. The village had changed. No longer divided by daily routines and quiet struggles, they were united by a donkey's will to survive. And Elijah, who had once stood broken and ashamed, now stood tall. Not because he saved Milo, but because Milo had saved them. He reminded them what it meant to fight, to rise, and to believe again. An old man in the crowd whispered, "That donkey. He's teaching us more than any priest ever could." The village chief stepped forward and rested a hand on Elijah's shoulder. "You know what we're doing here, don't you?" he said softly. "We're not burying him. We're building him a staircase." Elijah nodded. "A staircase to freedom." And so the chant continued, louder and stronger. "Shake it off. Step up." People from nearby villages began to arrive, drawn by the sound and the story. It spread like wildfire how a tired old donkey, left for dead, found a way to rise from the bottom of a well by simply refusing to give in. Everyone who came stood in awe, eyes wide, hearts full. No one knew how long it would take, but they didn't care. This wasn't about time anymore, it was about hope. It was about the strength hidden in unexpected places, and the quiet message from a creature no one thought had anything left to give. Night began to fall, but no one left. Torches were lit, food was shared. Elders told stories of their youth while children giggled and tried to mimic Milo's movements. But all eyes kept returning to the well, waiting for that final moment, the moment when the donkey who had taught them to never give up would emerge from the depths, proving that even when life throws dirt on you, you can turn it into a path upward. And as the moon began to rise, the well was nearly full. Only a few feet remained. Milo's head was now visible. To all the crowd gasped. He was dirty, yes. His ears drooped, but his eyes were alive, still full of fire, still full of fight, and he was almost free. Night had wrapped the village in a calm darkness, but the air around the well burned with excitement. Oil lanterns flickered, torches danced in the wind, but no one left. People stayed sitting on stones, leaning against fences, standing shoulder to shoulder just to witness what had now become a miracle in motion. Milo's head had finally appeared at the mouth of the well. He was just a few feet away from freedom, but he looked exhausted. His breathing was heavy, his steps slower, his legs trembling with each movement. The climb had been long and painful, and Elijah's heart clenched with every slow breath. "His donkey took him on, old friend," Elijah whispered, leaning over the edge with both hands outstretched. "Just a little more." The villagers had stopped shoveling now. There was no need. The well was almost full. Milo's hooves were on packed dirt now. All he had to do was push himself up over the edge, but his body swayed, and for a second, it looked like he might fall back down. "No, no, no, no," Elijah cried, grabbing the edge, ready to jump in if he had to. The crowd fell silent, afraid to breathe. And then, something beautiful happened. A small boy broke from the crowd. He ran to the edge of the well, held up his tiny fist, and shouted, "Shake it off, Milo. Step up." The chant started again softly at first, then louder. "Shake it off. Step up. Shake it off. Step up." Milo lifted his head. His ears perked up just slightly. His body wobbled, ... But then, he did it. He shook ... Dust and dirt flew from his back like a cloud. Then, he took one small step up, and another, and another. The crowd held their breath as he lifted his front legs up over the lip of the well. Then, with a final grunt of determination, he pushed his whole body forward and climbed out. Cheers erupted. It was the kind of joy that sent chills down your spine. People cried, others jumped and shouted. Children clapped and danced around. The old men wiped their eyes. Women hugged strangers. And Elijah dropped to his knees and wrapped his arms around the dirty, tired, glorious donkey. "You did it," he whispered into Milo's neck. "You crazy, stubborn, beautiful soul. You did it." Milo stood there, panting, dirt-covered, but somehow proud. His eyes scanned the crowd, and for a second it felt like he understood everything. He had walked out of death. He had turned a burial into a rebirth. The moment was electric. The moon shone directly above the well now, lighting the scene like a spotlight from heaven. And in that soft white glow, Milo slowly walked away from the well, not limping, not afraid, but with the steady, confident steps of a survivor. He trotted past the people as if to say, "No need to worry, I got this." And no one tried to stop him. They just watched in amazement. Then, something even more unexpected happened. As Milo walked, children started to follow him. Then the parents, then the elders. A parade formed behind him, not planned, not rehearsed, just a natural wave of emotion that made people move. Elijah followed at the end, his eyes still wet, his heart bursting with pride. They walked slowly through the village, past the barns, the fields, the dusty roads, as if honoring not just the donkey, but the lesson he had given them all. When they returned to the well, Elijah stood beside it and raised both hands. The crowd quieted. "We were ready to bury him," he said. "We thought he was done, old, weak, not worth the effort. But look what he showed us." He turned to the children and pointed. "You think life won't throw dirt on you? It will. All kinds. From people, from pain, from problems. But the trick," he paused, voice thick with emotion. "The trick is to shake it off and step up every time." People nodded. Some clapped. Others placed their hands over their hearts. Then the village chief stepped forward, holding a wooden sign freshly carved by one of the artisans. It read, "Shake it off. Step up." In honor of Milo the donkey, who refused to stay down, they nailed it to the stone wall around the well. From that day forward, no one ever called it the old well again. It became Milo's well. Students visited it on school trips. Farmers sat by it to tell stories. Travelers heard the legend and came just to touch its stones. But more than anything, people came there to remember that no matter how deep the hole, no matter how heavy the dirt, there was always a way out. If you just refused to give up. Elijah never again saw Milo as just a donkey. He was a symbol, a teacher, a four-legged preacher of perseverance. And every time Elijah passed the well, he would tip his hat and smile. "Thank you, old friend," he'd say softly. "You reminded us who we are." From that night forward, Milo wasn't just a donkey, he was a legend. And Elijah wasn't just a poor black farmer anymore. He was the man whose donkey taught an entire village how to rise from the darkest pit. The story of Milo and the well spread beyond their borders. Travelers, journalists, and teachers came to hear it firsthand. Some brought gifts, others brought tears, but all left with something much greater, a new belief in themselves. The village changed in quiet but powerful ways. People started helping each other more without being asked. Neighbors who hadn't spoken in years shared meals. Parents began telling their children, "When life pushes you down, remember what the donkey did." Elijah built a small shelter next to his home where he took in injured or abandoned animals. He called it Milo's Steps. Children volunteered there every weekend, brushing the donkeys, feeding the goats, and learning to love what others might throw away. Milo, now older but still full of spirit, would walk among them proudly, like a wise elder. Years passed, but the well remained untouched, surrounded by stones, protected by flowers, and marked with the wooden sign that now looked weathered but sacred. People still gathered there on hard days, whispering their problems to the wind, as if Milo could still hear them. One day, a stranger asked Elijah, "Why didn't you just build a ramp or get a machine to pull him out?" Elijah smiled, his eyes soft with memory. "Because if we had, we would have saved the donkey, but we would have missed the lesson." He paused, looking at the well, his voice calm but strong. "Life will throw dirt on you. People will doubt you. Pain will weigh you down. But if you can just keep standing, keep shaking it off, and take one step up at a time, you'll rise higher than anyone ever expected." He looked around the village now, stronger, kinder, and more united than ever. "All of us," he said, "were at the bottom of that well once. But Milo reminded us, you're not buried, you're being lifted." And with that, Elijah walked back into his home, while Milo, old, dusty, and full of grace, stood tall in the field, watching the sunset with calm eyes. No matter how deep your well is, no matter how much dirt life throws on you, remember what the donkey did. Shake it off. Step up. And don't forget, your greatest setback may become your greatest story. If this touched your heart, like, subscribe, and share this with someone who needs a little hope today.